Welcome, everyone, to episode 135 of 1 Hour, 1 Decision, 1H1D. I am Chris.
And I am Tom.
And we take 60 minutes and play a random game on Xbox Game Pass and decide, well, Tom, is Moonlighter worth our time?
Well, I was trying to decide if it's what it actually is or if it's like for like lighting cigarettes on the moon.
Ooh, no, it's not that. But we are going to be talking about Moonlighter by... Oh, man, it is Digital Sun is the developer here. This game came out in May of 2018. As usual, I played this on the PC. It was a surprisingly whopping 2.29 gigabytes on the PC. Tom, what about you?
I was surprised to see your number, Chris, because it was only 1.38 gigabytes on the Series S.
That's some savings.
What is that gig for? What does it do?
Honestly, I'm not sure. They're hiding another game inside there or something. But I don't know. We only play the first hour. But what kind of game is this?
All right. Well, I see ours are similar, but we've selected a different order.
We did.
I put shop simulator / dungeon crawler. What did you put?
I put top-down roguelike plus shop simulator.
So you think the roguelike is more of the game than the shopping is?
I guess it depends on how you play the game.
Speaking of, what is that game loop?
Yes. I put collect things in the dungeon by usually killing said things to sell in your shop and progress further into the dungeon to unlock more dungeons.
That's very thorough there, Chris.
Thank you. I thought I'd try a little.
Yeah, I like it. Let's see more of that.
Yeah.
On my end, I have spend your days running an item shop. Spend your nights looting dungeons.
Ooh, look at that. Got a little, I don't know, that's not really alliteration. I don't know what that is, but it's like you've got a rhythm to your loop there.
I know. Haha.
Yeah. So well done on that. But what did this game do? Well done. I don't know what that means. But what did you like about this game?
Hamburgers?
Yeah.
Meat? Don't do either of those well done.
Yeah,
it won't
gross.
taste good.
No.
So I liked the opening cinematic and the little tutorial chambers that they had.
Yeah, that was a good job. Especially for, well, what I thought was a fairly small game, but like they got maybe that's what it was. Maybe that the whole gig, at least on the PC, was a totally uncompressed video version of the cinematic or something like that. I'm not sure, but it was a very cool intro. Got you into the world, got you understanding what's happening in the world, and like you said, yeah, that dungeon. That first dungeon where you're trying to learn everything was fairly good, and got you right into how to fight. Yes. And I think even they did a pretty good job of showing you how to manage the shop as well, because this is one of those dungeons that you will fail. Although I'm curious if you can beat it if you're that skilled.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
that kill room at the end there, I'm pretty sure is impossible.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair.
The enemies don't stop coming, and it gets faster and faster and faster.
Yeah, agreed. And well, I liked the shop mechanic part of this game. I thought it was pretty interesting, and I felt like I was wasting a lot of my time there than actually in the dungeons, which was cool.
Well, you say wasting.
Yeah,
I would argue, based on my type of game, that it is the game running the shop.
Yeah,
it's called Moonlighter, right? And I think you're moonlighting, both literally and figuratively, as an adventurer.
Right.
You are first and foremost a shopkeeper.
Yeah, and the name of the shop is Moonlighter.
It's just coming around in circles.
It really is. I mean, yes, you die and you come back and do it again. So yeah, there's a lot of circles in this game, apparently. And I thought the music was very good too. But it had it fit the theme of the game, and like it just, I don't know, there was something whimsical but also like kind of pushed you through the dungeons and stuff like that. I don't know how to explain it, but I think that's how I felt about it. I don't know about you, Tom, but that's
I'll be honest that I didn't pay too much attention to the music, which is good and bad. It means it wasn't annoying me, which a lot of times in these simpler games the music can get very repetitive and obnoxious. That did not happen, so that's good. But it also didn't really stand out to me either. Things that did stand out, there's a quick line where you're given a sword And the person who gives you the sword says, it's dangerous to go alone. Take this.
Yeah.
So I appreciated the reference, especially since it looks like an old Zelda game.
Definitely does.
Speaking of which, I think the sprite art looks really good.
Yeah.
It looks like it could be from the Super Nintendo era, but also too good maybe for the Super Nintendo era, which is probably what you should be striving for if you're trying to do a retro looking game today, right? It's like, you don't want to make it just look like an 8-bit or 16-bit game. I mean, you can, but they're not going to, try a little bit harder. This game does. So I appreciated it.
Yeah. This the more I thought about it, it kind of gave me like the Scott Pilgrim vibes.
Yes. That is, yes. So yes, very much. That Scott Pilgrim video game, like the Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, right? Where it's like, this is too good to have actually run on the Super Nintendo, but it sort of looks like it could have, you know?
Yeah. I mean, and it's just the fact that they added a good amount of animations and stuff like that. It was, and of course, maybe the color palettes or whatever, the number of colors they could use here versus probably back on the SNES or SNES, whatever you want to call it, was, much more now. So, or is much more now. Grammar. I also thought that the roguelike element of this actually made sense in this game because
I would agree with you. Yes.
Yeah, because you're going into these dungeons, collecting stuff for you to go and sell in your shop. And guess what? You have to go back and do it again because either you fail or you win and you take that stuff, your earnings, and sell them. So I was like, that's brilliant. I thought that was a brilliant idea.
Yes. And I want to say I felt really good when I ran out of goods. When I got back to my shop and I sold every last thing that I had. Yeah. I was like, I'm winning it being a shopkeeper. I sold out of all the goods.
I have to say, going back to the whole shop mechanic thing, because I think we kind of just grazed it. But I thought it was interesting the way that worked, right? You have basically a table where you can place 4 items in there with, and then what you do is you have to set a price. When you set the price, depending on what the person that comes into the shop does, they have like a little emoji that pops up, tells you if it's too high, too low of a price, or just right. The whole Goldilocks thing here, but and then you take notes, or like there's a thing in your notebook that tells you like what your prices are and stuff like that for the most part. And I thought that was interesting. I thought it was kind of cool. And like that was, I mean, it was really fun just to kind of play with the numbers. Like, oh, well, I don't know why I found this more enjoyable than actually doing the dungeon part of it. But yeah.
Because it's different, Chris.
Yeah.
It's different. We've played a lot of roguelikes.
Yes,
They're all kind of the same, but this one really kind of puts it on its head by going, okay, like in a roguelike, usually we give you a bunch of items and then you either get to keep them or don't get to keep them, or you sell them off or whatever to boost up, to get gold so you could do something else. But in this game, it's like, no, the harvesting the items and selling the items is the game.
Yeah.
And then we also have this, dungeon crawler roguelike thing that's the game too.
Right.
But like, if it was just that, it wouldn't be a great game.
And like it was, I was going into this thinking I was not going to like that shop mechanic.
Yeah.
And I was again pleasantly surprised about that whole experience. So
I want to touch on one last thing, I think, before we move on to the things we didn't like. I think we're more or less ready to move there.
Yeah.
The upgrade paths for the town and the shop. So I like that it's not just this shop that you're running, right?
Yeah.
You are running a shop. And as you are more successful and gain gold, you can spend that gold to make your shop more enticing, add things to it to make it better for your customers.
Yep.
But you can also improve the town. So you can add a blacksmith and add a alchemist. And so it's not just about your little shop. It's also about spreading the wealth around as you're successful and making your town better too, which, I appreciate the moral lesson there, but also it's, it's cool that you can do that.
Yeah. And I didn't write this down, but I thought it's nice to note the fact that you can leave the dungeon at any time.
Yes.
Which I thought, like, when you have an amulet, which you get a little bit later in the game, I'd say like within the first like 15 or so minutes, you get an amulet that then allows you to leave whenever. So you're not stuck in a particular dungeon and stuff like that. And you can, if you feel like, you're low on health and you've got no potions or whatever to revitalize you, you can be like, I'm out, get me out of here, so I can take my stuff and sell it at the shop. So very cool. Very glad that they had that little mechanic in there.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
But now we have to maybe not disagree, but we will talk about our dislikes though now, Tom, don't we?
Yeah, so let's start off by saying dying and losing all the cool stuff that you have in your bag really, really sucks.
Yeah.
I don't like it at all. Especially, maybe before you get the amulet or even with the amulet, sometimes the rooms, like the doors lock behind you and you underestimated how powerful an enemy is going to be. And then you do get to keep the 5 items or something that are on your person.
Yes.
But anything that's in your backpack is lost. And there's no like corpse run here. Like they're gone. So if you had a lot of cool stuff, if you got really deep in the dungeon and collected a lot of goodies, and then something punches you and you go down, that's it. Kiss it all goodbye.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
That's the roguelike part of this game that I found frustrating. I also just thought the combat I wasn't really a big fan of it. I'll be honest. Like when you first start off, you're fighting things with your broom.
Yep.
And which, it was funny, but then they like you mentioned, you get a sword and shield, like a training sword and a training shield, which helps. You definitely do a lot more damage there. But I don't know. It felt like it wasn't. It just didn't feel good. I don't know. I don't know how you felt about the combat. It just was fine. But
I'm with you. My problem with it was that it felt very like 4-directional. So you can attack left or right, you can attack up and down, but there's no diagonal.
Right.
And so I think as a consequence, the hitboxes of the enemies and stuff, you swing on somebody, you think you're going to hit them and you don't hit them, but they hit you maybe because they line themselves up better or whatever.
Right.
I think you could probably get used to it over time, but it's maybe not as intuitive. And so it's kind of clunky. And there's this roll maneuver that you have to like.
Yeah.
The funny part about it was like we were talking about those opening chambers, the tutorial chambers.
Yeah.
It teaches you this one button to roll.
Yes.
And then it's like, roll this. Okay, next chamber. More rolling. Next chamber. Okay, still more rolling.
Yeah.
And it's the game being a little funny with itself, showing you that like you really need to dodge.
Yeah.
But I'm not somebody who dodges. I want to swing. I want to swing away.
Yeah. And funny you mentioned the roll. I thought the roll sometimes just felt off too, because there were times like even in that tutorial section where I felt like I was like the gap was I was rolling enough that I made it past the gap, but then it would make me fall to my death, and it kind of stunk. So it was a couple of times even after the tutorial where I was trying to roll, like I think I fought a golem warrior or something like that, and it was making a swing, and I would try to roll past it, but it was like, nope, you hit into it, and I lost damage there, or I lost health from that, which was frustrating. I'm glad that there's a health bar instead of like an insta kill, like these things kill you.
Oh yeah,
that would have been horrible. But one other thing, actually, we both kind of mentioned this, is hard mode is their normal mode. I played this on easy mode or whatever, and it was still kind of hard. I gotta be honest, like the combat was still pretty hard because of like because it just didn't feel like the combat didn't feel great. But you played this on their normal mode or what they call hard mode.
Yes. So their default difficulty is hard.
Yeah.
If you want to make it easier, that's normal. I have the same beef that I have with Starbucks on this. Okay. Your smallest size is your smallest size. It's a small. That's what it is. You can't call it a tall and somehow now it's no. Okay. No. So if your easiest difficulty is normal, that's not normal. That's easy. And if your default difficulty is normal, because that's the default.
Yeah.
You can't just change the names of things arbitrarily.
And then they put a whole blurb about it too. It's like, this is what the developers want you to experience. It's like, okay, that's normal.
Yeah.
I want to play it on easy. Let me play it on easy. It doesn't have to be called hard, whatever. Yeah. But I mean, there is the option to switch difficulties, apparently. midway too. But I stuck to easy because it was a little challenging, all things considered. But yeah, and
no, it was.
The thing is, they do explain this in the game, but I'm just not a fan of procedurally generated dungeons. It's just because like when I'm going in there and I'm like, okay, I have to get to a particular section. I need to get here.
Yeah,
I'd like to be able to. Okay, if I did a run, I want to be able to like experience that same run.
Yeah, you want to be able to learn from your mistakes.
Exactly. And I think there was a game that we played. Oh yeah, Neon Abyss had that option where you can save a particular dungeon, so to speak. Right. You play that again, which I thought was really nice. Again, I think they warned you that you wouldn't get achievements or whatever if you did that. I'm like, that's fine. I just want to play the game. Like I want to play this particular run again. So it would have been nice if they had that in here, but they don't. But it is, still a little frustration from my end. I mean, I'm sure people out there love that procedurally generated. Oh, something new every time. All right, cool. You do you. But anything else here you dislike?
I'm with you. Yeah. So we touched on it a little bit in our pros, but that initial moment when I'm putting an item up for sale is very rough for me because I have no idea how much the thing is worth. The game does not tell you. It gives you no clues. It's just you have a thing, and how do you sell this?
Yes. I will say, though, Tom, I figured this out near the end of my playthrough. Oh. If you look at the notebook, it's actually sorted by price. The items are sorted by price. Yeah, and there's a bar. There's sometimes like a little bar that'll tell you how much things are. Like, so something will be $275. Anything above that is more than $275. So it's like, kind of the range where it's supposed to be.
Okay.
Near the end. I was like, oh, okay.
I did not catch that at all.
Yeah.
I was just throwing.
I was doing the same thing.
In the dark.
I was like,
everything's 100 gold until we find out otherwise. Now, I've definitely undersold some things as a consequence. And I definitely had a lot of angry people being like, why are you trying to sell this stick for 100 gold?
Right.
But then you can, you get the reaction from the customer.
Yeah.
And you go, okay, that's too high.
Yep.
I'll cut it in half. You start playing that game of figuring out the sweet spot for each of these items. So
exactly. So it is, it's unfortunate I only figured it out at the end, but I was like, oh my gosh, that makes things so much easier. But, it's fine.
I have another dislike here, Chris, and maybe you have a solution to it. So I want to mention it as well.
Yeah.
I did not see the ability to save, like a manual save.
No, there is no manual. Like it's basically the day-night
when you
cycle.
When you come back from the dungeon.
When you come back from the dungeon, when you go to sleep, the game saves.
Okay.
So that's what I've seen so far. But those are your only ways to save the game, from what I can tell.
Yeah, that's yucky because you've got to do a lot inside the town, and I feel like there should be a way to save in your house or save like some other way to manually save. Because I tested it, I did a bunch of stuff during the day, and then my hour's up, and I quit, and then I went back, and I was like, oh, all that stuff that I did during the day is gone.
Dang it.
I didn't see a way to save. So
yeah, I guess I think even when you go into the dungeon, I think that does a save too. I'm not entirely sure.
Like maybe starting the dungeon as well.
Yeah. So that's the thought. But that is our dislikes here. Let's talk about anything else. Any other notables here for you, Tom?
Well, I did a little digging to learn about the company.
Yeah.
So Digital Sun, the developer, they're located in Valencia in Spain. Ooh. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Okay.
And they've made a couple of other games. Yeah. There's not a whole lot of information out there on Moonlighter. But so there's a Cataclysmo is a game they made, which is a mix of tower defense and RTS.
Okay.
And then they did another game called The Mage Seeker, which is a League of Legends based action RPG.
Oh, okay, cool.
So these are people who like to slam things together and make kind of mash up, mix up things.
Yeah.
So, kind of explains where they went here with this one.
Yeah.
And there is DLC for this game. It didn't bother me that there's DLC for this game because I think it came out a little while afterwards.
Yeah.
It takes place after the game too, so that's the best kind of DLC is post game DLC.
Yes.
Doesn't affect me playing the game at all.
No.
but it continues the game. So if you like this game and want to keep playing more, there's more game available to you.
Nice. Okay, that is good to know. And you know what? Another good thing is that they didn't hammer it in that there's DLC throughout the game too, which is nice. They let you play the game. There was in the menu about the DLC, but like, that was it. That was really it.
Yeah. So it's while you're playing the game, it's totally hidden. You wouldn't know that there's DLC.
But what I will tell you is How Long to Beat says that this game takes Golden Path about 13 hours to complete.
Okay.
So sizable game, but I could see definitely being completed in, a weekend or so if you had the time. This game does have Xbox Cloud saves, xCloud capable. You can play this on your phone and stuff like that. But you will need a controller, as you notice. There are a lot of buttons to press, so
yes,
need all of them buttons. So that is possible, and that's cool. But Tom, we need to find out though: are we keeping this game in our respective Xbox experiences?
It's a good question, but first,
we have to thank cdkeys.com for helping us support the show, and you can support the show by clicking on the lovely CD Keys link in our description, either on the podcast or in our YouTube, and checking out all the cool stuff that they're doing out there. For maybe even Moonlighter is on there. I'm not even sure, but it could be. But Game Pass is on there.
There's all kinds of discounts on there.
All kinds of discounts, and all kind of good stuff. Even 90% off. So check that out, cdkeys.com, and the link on our description. So now, Tom, we do have to find out though.
Yes.
Is this something we're Moonlighting?
Right. That's the question, right? Do we give up our day jobs and become item shop sellers?
Yes.
And also adventurers. It doesn't sound too bad, actually.
No.
I know that I could lose hours upon hours just running this shop.
Yeah.
Because man, I was really in the zone when all those shopkeepers customers are coming in, and I'm trying to manage these prices and all this stuff. But on the flip side, I cannot stand losing progress. So it hurt me to lose that daytime stuff because I didn't have a manual save. It hurt me to die in the dungeon and lose all the contents of my bag.
Yeah.
I'm thinking I will give this another hour on normal.
Yeah.
And by normal, I mean easy. Because these people don't know how to name their difficulties.
Come on, Digital Sun.
It doesn't fix the fact that I can't save. Unless, I don't know, maybe an item appears in hour 3 that lets you save the game. I don't know. Maybe it does. Who knows?
Maybe from one of those people that you invest in.
That sounds great. Yeah. Let's hope for that.
Let's hope for that. That's cool.
How about you, Chris?
Well, Tom, this is probably the first game of this type that made me want to save my progress after my hour is up.
Yeah, but you couldn't.
Well, you know what I mean. I have to get to a particular objective to save it.
Yes,
you can pause the game, which is nice. I know.
Being a naysayer.
But yes, this was actually a very pleasant experience for me, even with the dungeon part. And like I said, maybe try it on.
You can leave at any time.
Yeah, you can. But this time I'm not leaving. I'm staying. I'm keeping with it. I'm keeping Moonlighter. So
woo, 2 for 2.
2 for 2. And those are our thoughts. Let us know what you think of this game. Follow us, say hello on X. Is it called now? I don't know. At TC1H1D. Or shoot us an email at tc1h1d@outlook.com. Or we're even on Threads at tc1h1d. And check out our next streams on Twitch at twitch.tv/1h1d. And hey, if you're watching this on YouTube, send us a comment down below. Maybe we'll try to respond to that too. Yeah. And sometimes we'll throw up a question on Spotify. So if you're listening on Spotify, please answer those questions for us. But 1H1D is part of that QTB network. And if you like any other really cool gaming content, not just podcasts, but streams and blogs and all that fun stuff, check it all out at quitthebuild.com/network.
We have one last thing to do, Chris, before we let them go.
We do, and we need to find out what we're playing next. So, surprise me button, tell us what we are playing. Here we go.
I always get nervous, Chris.
Ooh. Monster Train is what we are playing next. This is a game that's been told by many people on the social medias for us to try.
Who doesn't like monsters? Who doesn't like trains? I'm sure they're great when you put them together.
We're about to find out, though, Tom. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning into this episode, and we will catch you on the next one.
Thanks, everybody.